I came to tell somebody tonight that what tried to break you did not beat you. The pain you cried over, the nights you prayed through, the tears you couldn't explain, God has been collecting every one of them, and He is about to turn your pain into your purpose. Pain is never wasted in God's hands. That is a truth many people struggle to accept, especially when the pain feels unnecessary, unfair, or overwhelming. When you are in the middle of suffering, it does not feel productive. It does not feel holy. It feels heavy. It feels confusing. It feels like something has gone wrong. But the reality is that God does some of His deepest work in the places where we feel the most broken. What we often see as interruption, God sees as instruction. What we label as loss, God uses as leverage. Nothing you have endured has been random, accidental, or overlooked by heaven. We tend to measure value by comfort, but God measures value by transformation. Pain becomes wasted only when we allow bitterness to consume us instead of letting God refine us. The enemy wants pain to paralyze you, to convince you that your suffering disqualifies you. God wants pain to prepare you, to shape your character, deepen your faith, and clarify your purpose. The same fire that destroys one thing can purify another. It all depends on whose hands the pain is in. In God's hands, pain becomes a tool, not a weapon. There are moments when pain exposes what prosperity could never reveal. When everything is going well, we rarely stop to examine our faith, our motives, or our dependence on God. Pain strips away illusions. It removes false supports. It shows us what we truly believe when there is nothing left to lean on but God Himself. That kind of revelation is not punishment. It is preparation. God is not trying to hurt you, but He is not afraid to allow hurt if it will heal something deeper inside you. Many people assume that if God loved them, He would have prevented the pain. But love does not always look like protection from hardship. Sometimes love looks like permission for growth. A parent who never allows resistance weakens the child. In the same way, a life with no struggle produces shallow faith. Pain teaches endurance. It teaches humility. It teaches us how to pray when words fail and how to trust when answers delay. Those lessons cannot be learned in comfort alone. God wastes nothing, especially not suffering. The tears you cried in private, the disappointments you never explained, the betrayal that changed how you trust, the delay that tested your patience. God has been working in all of it. He was not absent in the process. He was present, shaping something in you that ease could not produce. Pain has a way of carving out capacity. It enlarges your compassion. It gives you insight into other people's struggles. It qualifies you to speak with authority, not theory. There are people who will be healed because you understand their pain. There are lives that will be changed because you survived something they are still trying to escape. If God had removed the pain too quickly, you might have missed the power that came with it. Your story carries weight because it was costly. Your testimony matters because it came through tears. What you endured becomes evidence that God can be trusted even when life is uncertain. Pain also redirects us. Sometimes we were heading in the wrong direction, chasing things that look good, but were not God. Pain has a way of stopping us, forcing us to reconsider our path. What felt like a setback was actually a course correction. What seemed like rejection was protection. God allowed the door to close because He knew what was behind it. Pain became the signal that it was time to move, to grow, to let go. There are seasons when pain feels repetitive, like the same lesson on a different level. That does not mean God is cruel. It means He is thorough. He is not interested in temporary change, but lasting transformation. Some things have to be confronted more than once before they lose their power over us. Pain keeps returning until the lesson is learned, until the wound is healed at the root, not just covered on the surface. In God's hands, pain develops spiritual maturity. It teaches you how to worship without music, how to praise without applause, how to trust without clarity. It trains you to walk by faith and not by sight. It teaches you that God is still good, even when life is not. That kind of faith is unshakable. It cannot be talked out of you because it was born in the fire. Pain also reveals God's presence in ways comfort never could. When everything is stripped away and you still feel His peace, you realize that He is enough. When the situation does not change but your strength does, you understand that God has been sustaining you all along. Sometimes God does not remove the pain immediately because He is using it to reveal Himself more deeply to you. What you learn about God in pain becomes the foundation of your confidence in purpose. The enemy tries to convince you that your pain disqualifies you because you suffered, failed, or fell. You are no longer usable. But God specializes in using wounded vessels. He knows how to pour glory through cracks. He knows how to bring beauty out of ashes. Pain does not disqualify you. It often qualifies you. It proves that you have been through something and did not give up. It proves resilience. It proves grace. There are things God entrusts only to people who have been broken and rebuilt. Pride cannot handle purpose, but pain humbles us enough to carry it well. Success without suffering can make you careless, but purpose birthed through pain makes you grateful, careful, and dependent on God. That dependency is not weakness, it is wisdom. Even when pain was caused by someone else's actions, God is still able to redeem it. Betrayal does not have the final word. Abuse does not get the last sentence. Failure is not the conclusion. God steps into the narrative and rewrites the ending. What others meant for harm, God turns for good. Not by pretending the pain did not happen, but by transforming its impact. One day, you will look back and realize that the pain you begged God to remove was the very thing that introduced you to your calling. You will see how it strengthened your voice, sharpened your discernment, and deepened your faith. You will understand that God was not silent, He was shaping. He was not absent, He was active. And you will know beyond any doubt that pain is never wasted in God's hands. Purpose is often born out of pressure, even though most of us would prefer it to be born out of comfort, clarity, and convenience. We want purpose to arrive gently, without resistance, without strain, without the crushing weight of uncertainty. But pressure has a way of revealing what is inside us. Just as pressure turns carbon into diamonds, it turns potential into purpose. What feels like squeezing, stretching, and suffocating is often the very environment God uses to bring something valuable out of you. Pressure forces you to confront who you really are. When life is easy, we can hide behind routine, titles, and appearances. Under pressure, those masks fall away. You discover what you truly believe, what you truly value, and who you truly trust. Pressure exposes weaknesses, but it also uncovers strengths you never knew existed. You find endurance you didn't think you had, courage you didn't know was buried inside you, and faith that rises when everything else falls apart. Many people assume that pressure is a sign they are doing something wrong, that resistance means they have missed God. But often the opposite is true. Pressure increases when purpose is near. The enemy resists what threatens him. Life squeezes hardest when something significant is being formed. If there were nothing valuable inside you, there would be no reason for the pressure. The intensity of the pressure often matches the importance of the purpose. Pressure also refines your focus. When everything is comfortable, distractions thrive, but pressure has a way of narrowing your vision. It forces you to prioritize what matters most. Under pressure, you learn how to let go of what is unnecessary and hold on to what is essential. Relationships are clarified, motives are purified, dreams are examined. What cannot survive pressure was never meant to go with you into purpose. God uses pressure to train your dependence on Him. In moments of ease, we often rely on our own strength, skills, and strategies. Pressure exposes the limits of self-sufficiency. It pushes you into prayer not as a habit, but as a lifeline. It teaches you how to lean on God when you cannot lean on understanding. That dependency reshapes your character. It teaches humility, patience, and trust, qualities that purpose requires. There are callings that would destroy you if you received them without first experiencing pressure. Authority without pressure breeds arrogance. Influence without pressure produces recklessness. Purpose without pressure lacks compassion. Pressure teaches you how to carry responsibility without being crushed by it. It teaches you how to lead with empathy instead of ego. What you suffer through becomes the training ground for how you serve. Pressure often comes in the form of delay. You are ready, but the door will not open. You are prepared, but the opportunity has not arrived. Delay applies pressure to your patience and your faith. It tests whether you will trust God's timing or rush ahead of Him. Many people abort purpose by trying to escape the pressure of waiting. But waiting is not wasted time, it is shaping time. It develops endurance and discernment, qualities that will protect you when the purpose finally unfolds. Sometimes pressure comes through responsibility that feels too heavy. You are given more than you feel equipped to handle. The weight makes you question yourself. But God often calls us into assignments that stretch us beyond our comfort. The pressure is not meant to crush you, but to expand you. It pushes you to grow into the calling rather than shrinking back from it. You discover that grace meets you at the point of pressure. Pressure also exposes wounds that need healing. When you are squeezed, unresolved pain surfaces, old fears reappear, insecurities rise. This is not failure, it is an invitation. God uses pressure to bring hidden issues into the light so they can be healed. Purpose requires wholeness, not perfection, but healing cannot happen if wounds remain buried. Pressure forces honesty with God and with yourself. There are moments when pressure feels relentless, like there is no relief. In those moments, it is tempting to believe that God has forgotten you. But pressure is often the sign that God is close, working deeply beneath the surface. Seeds germinate under pressure, hidden in darkness before they ever break through the soil. What is being formed in you may not be visible yet, but it is real. Pressure also builds spiritual authority. When you speak from experience rather than theory, your words carry weight. When you have endured pressure and still trusted God, your testimony becomes credible. People listen differently to someone who has survived what they are preaching about. Pressure gives you a voice that cannot be dismissed because it was earned through endurance. God uses pressure to align your purpose with His will. Some of our early dreams are too small, too shallow, or too self-centered. Pressure reshapes those dreams. It enlarges your vision beyond personal success to kingdom impact. What you thought you wanted evolves into what God always intended. The pressure did not kill the dream, it purified it. Even Jesus was not exempt from pressure. Before public ministry came the pressure of the wilderness. Before the cross came the pressure of Gethsemane. Pressure preceded purpose. If pressure was part of His process, it will be part of ours. The presence of pressure does not mean the absence of God. It often confirms His involvement. There are seasons when pressure isolates you. People misunderstand you. Support feels distant. Loneliness adds to the weight. But isolation under pressure often deepens intimacy with God. When other voices fall silent, His voice becomes clearer. You learn how to hear Him for yourself, not just through others. That intimacy becomes the foundation for confident obedience. Pressure also teaches resilience. You learn how to get back up when you fall. You learn how to endure discomfort without giving up. That resilience is essential for purpose, because purpose is not a destination, it is a journey. There will be future pressures, future challenges, future resistance. What you learn now prepares you for what is ahead. One day you will look back and realize that the pressure you resented was the process that shaped you. You will see how it refined your faith, strengthened your character, and clarified your calling. You will understand that God was not trying to break you, but to build you. Purpose was not delayed by pressure, it was delivered through it. What hurt you also shaped you, even though at the time it felt like it was destroying you. Pain has a way of convincing us that it only takes away, that it leaves nothing but scars and memories we would rather forget. But shaping often happens in the same place as hurting. The very experiences that wounded you also molded your strength, your discernment, your depth, and your capacity. You are not who you were before the pain, and while that loss may grieve you, the growth that followed is undeniable. There are parts of you that only exist because of what you survived. Your compassion was shaped by disappointment. Your wisdom was shaped by failure. Your patience was shaped by waiting. Your faith was shaped by moments when God was all you had left. If life had been easier, you might have remained softer, but also shallower. Pain carves something into you that comfort never could. Shaping is rarely gentle. It involves pressure, friction, and resistance. Just as a sculptor chips away at stone to reveal the form within, life chips away at our assumptions, our pride, and our sense of control. The blows feel harsh, but they are intentional. The sculptor sees what the stone will become before anyone else does. In the same way, God sees who you are becoming even when all you feel is the impact of the chisel. Some of the things that hurt you were not meant to happen, yet God still used them. Betrayal shaped your discernment. Rejection shaped your resilience. Loss shaped your perspective. Trauma shaped your boundaries. While God did not cause the harm, He did not waste it. He took what was meant to destroy you and used it to develop you. The pain did not define you, but it did refine you. There are lessons you learned the hard way that now protect you. There are red flags you recognize because you ignored them once. There are limits you now honor because you crossed them before. Pain became your teacher, not because you wanted it to be, but because you survived it, and that survival reshaped how you move, how you trust, and how you choose. The hurt also reshaped your prayers. Before, you prayed out of routine. After pain, you prayed out of desperation, honesty, and depth. You learned how to pray without pretense. You learned how to sit in silence when words failed. You learned how to trust God when the outcome was uncertain. That kind of prayer life is not learned in ease, it is forged in hardship. What hurt you also reshaped your understanding of people. You became more aware of hidden struggles. You stopped assuming that smiles meant peace. You learned to listen beyond words. Pain softened your heart toward others because you know what it feels like to be misunderstood, overlooked, or wounded. That empathy is not weakness, it is strength shaped by experience. Some of your greatest strengths grew out of your deepest wounds. The area where you were most hurt often becomes the area where you are most effective. The one who was abandoned learns how to show up for others. The one who was silenced finds a powerful voice. The one who was broken becomes a healer. Purpose often flows from pain because pain sharpens your sensitivity to the needs of others. Even the pain that changed you in ways you did not want still shaped you in ways you needed. You may mourn the innocence you lost, the trust that was broken, or the version of yourself that existed before the hurt. That grief is valid, but alongside that loss is growth you could not have imagined. Strength replaced naivety, wisdom replaced assumption, discernment replaced blind trust. You did not become bitter, you became better. Even if it took time to see it, pain also reshaped your priorities. Things you once chased no longer satisfy you. Things you once feared no longer control you. Pain stripped away what was superficial and revealed what was essential. It taught you what truly matters and what does not. That clarity is a gift born from hardship. There were moments when the hurt made you question God, yourself, and your future. But even those questions shaped your faith. You learned that faith is not the absence of doubt, but the decision to trust God through it. You learned that God can handle your questions without withdrawing His presence. That honest faith is stronger than blind belief. Some hurts taught you boundaries. You learned that love does not mean self-abandonment. You learned that access to you is a privilege, not a right. You learned how to say no without guilt and yes without fear. Those boundaries were shaped by pain, but they now protect your peace and preserve your purpose. What hurt you also shaped your endurance. You discovered that you could survive things you once thought would break you. You learned how to keep going even when progress felt slow. That endurance will serve you well in purpose, because purpose requires perseverance. The strength you gained through pain is now part of who you are. There are scars you carry that no one else can see, but they tell a story of survival. They remind you that you lived through what could have ended you. Those scars are not shameful, they are evidence of healing. They show that the wound closed, that life continued, that God sustained you even when you felt weak. One day, you will see even more clearly how the hurt shaped you for where you are going. You will recognize that the pain refined your character, deepened your faith, and prepared you for assignments that require maturity and compassion. You will understand that while the hurt was real, it was not wasted. What hurt you did not just damage you, it developed you. It did not just wound you, it shaped you. And the person you are becoming carries strength, wisdom, and purpose that could only be formed through what you survived. Your survival is proof of your calling, even when you did not recognize it at the time. You thought you were merely enduring, merely holding on, merely trying to make it through another day. But survival is never accidental when God is involved. You are still here because there is still an assignment on your life. The fact that you lived through what should have destroyed you is evidence that heaven had plans that hell could not cancel. There were moments when you did not think you would make it. Moments when the weight was too heavy, the night too long, the pain too deep, yet somehow you are still standing. That is not luck. That is not coincidence. That is calling. Callings are often revealed not by comfort, but by what you survive. If the enemy could have taken you out, he would have. The resistance you faced was not random, it was targeted because your life carries purpose. Survival reveals divine preservation. God kept you when you did not know how to keep yourself. He guarded your mind when you were close to giving up. He protected your heart when disappointment tried to harden it. There were dangers you never saw, traps you never fell into, moments when the outcome could have been worse. Survival is not just about what happened, but about what did not happen. God was covering you long before you understood why. Many people assume that calling only shows up in moments of success, applause, and visible achievement, but often calling shows up first in survival. Before you are trusted with influence, you are tested with endurance. Before you are sent publicly, you are preserved privately. Survival is training ground. It develops resilience, humility, and dependence on God. Those qualities are essential for anyone who will carry purpose without being crushed by it. There are people who never survived what you survived. They gave up, broke down, or walked away. The difference is not that you were stronger on your own, but that grace met you in your weakness. God sustained you when your strength ran out. That sustaining grace is the same grace that will empower your calling. What kept you alive will also keep you effective. Survival shapes your credibility. When you speak, your words carry weight because they come from experience, not theory. You are not guessing about God's faithfulness. You have lived it. You are not talking about hope from a distance. You held on to it when everything was against you. People listen differently to someone who has been through the fire and did not burn up. Your survival gives your voice authority. There were seasons when survival felt like failure. You were not thriving, you were just making it. But surviving is not failing when the alternative was quitting. Sometimes obedience looks like staying alive, staying faithful, staying present. God honors endurance. He sees the strength it takes to keep going when nothing is changing. Survival is not weakness. It is courage in its rawest form. Your calling requires compassion, and compassion is learned through survival. You know how to sit with people in pain because you have been there. You know how to encourage without judgment because you remember what it felt like to struggle. Survival softens your heart in ways success never could. It teaches you how to love people where they are, not where you think they should be. Survival also teaches discernment. You learned who was real and who was seasonal. You learned what voices to trust and which ones to ignore. You learned how to listen to God over the noise of fear and opinion. That discernment will guide you in purpose. It will protect you from misalignment and help you make wise decisions when the stakes are higher. There were moments when survival required you to let go. Let go of people, dreams, expectations, and even versions of yourself that no longer fit. That letting go was painful but necessary. You cannot carry everything into purpose. Survival teaches you how to travel light, how to release what drains you, and how to hold on to what gives life. That wisdom is part of your calling. Your survival also proves that your life is not just about you. If it were, you might not have endured. You survive because someone else needs what you carry. Someone needs your story, your strength, your testimony. Someone needs to see that it is possible to come through what they are facing. Your survival is a message, whether you realize it or not. Even the scars left by survival have purpose. They remind you where you have been and who brought you through. They keep you humble. They keep you grateful. They keep you aware of God's power in your weakness. Those scars do not disqualify you. They authenticate you. They show that you have been tested and proven. There were times when survival required faith without answers. You did not know how things would work out, but you kept trusting anyway. That kind of faith is rare and valuable. It is the kind of faith God entrusts with responsibility. Purpose requires trust, not just talent. Survival grows trust in God when everything else fails. Your calling may not look like what you expected. It may not come with a title, platform, or spotlight. Sometimes calling looks like serving quietly, loving deeply, and standing faithfully. Survival prepares you for that kind of purpose. It teaches you to value obedience over recognition. One day, you will look back and realize that every moment you thought you were barely surviving, God was preparing you, preparing your heart, your mind, your spirit. You were not just staying alive, you were being preserved for something greater. The same God who kept you through the storm will send you with purpose after it. Your survival is not the end of your story. It is the evidence that your story is still unfolding. You are here because God is not finished. You are breathing because purpose remains. You survive because you are called. God turns tests into testimonies, even when the test feels endless and the testimony seems impossible. In the middle of a test, all you can see is the struggle. The pressure is intense. The questions are loud and the outcome is unclear. Tests stretch you beyond comfort and force you to confront your faith. They challenge what you believe about God, about yourself, and about the future. But tests are not designed to destroy you. They are designed to develop you. What you walk through in private becomes what God will use publicly. A test reveals what is truly inside you. When everything is calm, it is easy to say you trust God. But when life applies pressure, faith is no longer theoretical. Tests strip away rehearsed answers and surface-level belief. They expose whether your trust is rooted in convenience or conviction. That exposure is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. God already knows what is in you. The test is for you to discover it. Many people assume tests mean God is distant or displeased. In reality, tests often mean God is near and intentional. A teacher does not test students they have abandoned. Tests are proof of investment. God tests what he plans to use. He refines what he plans to reveal. The test is not punishment, it is preparation. During a test, silence can feel unbearable. You pray, but answers seem delayed. You obey, but results are slow. That silence does not mean God is absent. It means he is working beneath the surface. Some lessons cannot be taught through explanation. They must be learned through experience. The silence trains you to trust God's character when you cannot track his hand. Tests also expose areas that need growth. Weak faith, hidden fear, misplaced priorities, and unresolved wounds often surface under pressure. This is not to shame you, but to shape you. God uses tests to reveal what needs healing before promotion. He is more interested in who you are becoming than in how quickly you succeed. A testimony is never born in ease. Testimonies are forged in endurance. They are written in tears, faith, and perseverance. What you survive becomes the evidence of God's faithfulness. What you overcome becomes the proof that God can be trusted. Without the test, the testimony has no weight. Tests often come unexpectedly. You are minding your business, doing your best, and suddenly life shifts. Loss, disappointment, betrayal, sickness, delay, or uncertainty enters the picture. You did not plan for it, but God allowed it, not because he enjoys your pain, but because he sees what the test will produce. He sees the testimony before you do. There are moments in a test when quitting feels reasonable. You have done everything right, yet things keep going wrong. But endurance is what turns a test into a testimony. Giving up short-circuits the process. Remaining faithful even when frustrated allows God to complete the work he started in you. Tests refine your voice. After you have been tested, you speak differently. There is depth in your words. There is authority in your tone. You no longer speak from assumption, but from experience. People recognize the difference. Your testimony resonates because it is real. God often uses the very area of your greatest test as the platform for your testimony. The place you struggled becomes the place you serve. The pain you endured becomes the message you carry. What once embarrassed you becomes what empowers others. God has a way of flipping the script. Tests also teach timing. You learn that God does not move on your schedule. You learn patience, waiting, and surrender. Those lessons are critical because a testimony given too early can become pride instead of praise. God waits until the lesson is complete before revealing the outcome. In the middle of a test, it is hard to imagine the testimony. Fear tries to convince you that this is how the story ends. But God is not finished when things look unfinished. He specializes in sudden shifts, unexpected turnarounds, and last-minute breakthroughs. The test may be long, but it is not permanent. Tests strengthen your spiritual muscles. Faith grows under resistance. Prayer deepens under pressure. Worship becomes more authentic when it is offered through tears. These spiritual disciplines developed in testing seasons become anchors in future storms. The test prepares you for what is next. Your testimony will not just be about the outcome, but about the process. It will include how God kept you sane, how He sustained you emotionally, how He gave you peace in chaos. Sometimes the greatest testimony is not that the storm ended, but that you survived it with your faith intact. Tests also teach humility. You realize how much you need God. You learn that strength comes from dependence, not control. That humility keeps your testimony pure. It points people to God instead of yourself. The goal of a testimony is not admiration, it is transformation. There are tests you pass quietly, with no audience. No one applauds your endurance. No one sees the private battles, but God sees, and what He sees in secret, He honors openly. Your private faithfulness will produce public fruit. A testimony is never just for you. It is for the person who feels like giving up. It is for the one who believes their test is meaningless. Your story becomes a lifeline for someone else. God uses your survival to strengthen another's faith. Even when you fail a test, God is still able to redeem it. Failure does not disqualify you from testimony. Repentance, humility, and growth become part of the story. God's grace shines brightest where weakness once lived. One day you will tell the story without tears. You will speak of the test with clarity instead of confusion. You will see how every moment mattered. You will recognize that God was faithful even when it did not feel like it. What you are going through now is not the end. It is the chapter that makes the testimony powerful. God is turning your test into a testimony, your struggle into a story, and your pain into proof that He is still God. As I come to a close, I want you to hear this clearly. Your pain was not pointless, your struggle was not accidental, and your story is not finished. Every tear, every test, every moment you thought you would not survive was working something in you and through you. God has been taking what tried to break you and turning it into what will bless others. Nothing you endured was wasted in His hands. What hurt you shaped you. The pressure you felt prepared you. The tests you faced produced a testimony, and the simple fact that you are still standing is proof that God is not done with you yet. You may not fully understand the why right now, but one day you will see the wisdom in the process. God was not punishing you, He was positioning you. He was not ignoring you, He was investing in you. So do not despise the journey. Do not curse the chapter that built your strength. Do not let bitterness steal what pain produced. Instead, lift your head and trust the God who carried you through the fire. The same God who allowed the pain is the same God who assigned the purpose. Your story is being rewritten. What once looked like defeat is becoming deliverance. What once felt like loss is becoming legacy, and what once caused you to question God will become the very reason someone else believes in Him. This is not the end. This is the turning point. God is turning your pain into purpose, your wounds into wisdom, and your survival into a calling. And when He finishes, your life will stand as living proof that what the enemy meant for harm, God still uses for good.